Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hallmark Guy podcast. I am Baptiste, the Hallmark Guy, and I am back with a new 2026 Hallmark Channel movie recap and review. Our final January movie. I can't believe January is over. We're in February. Can't believe how fast it has been going. The movie we're talking about, Missing the Boat, which premiered on Saturday, January 31st, 2026 at 8/7 Central on Hallmark Channel. It's part of Winter Escape, the final 2026 Winter Escape movie. Again, has gone by really fast. It starred Emily Ullerup. Hope I'm pronouncing this right. I've heard people, you know, go to Emilia almost, Emilia with almost like an A at the end. For me, reading it with my French mind will be Emily, and I maybe I'm wrong. If she sees this, I'm so sorry. Please come on the podcast. Let me know the right way to say it. But I was saying, Emily Ullerup and Christopher Polaha reuniting 10 years later. Well, it hasn't been exactly 10 years, but it was 2016. So 10 years later, after Hearts of Christmas. I always like when we get those kind of fun facts in reunion. Without further ado, let's get into recapping the movie. Kelly, played by Emily, is boarding a cruise ship in Italy to do some research for a company that would like to know if they should buy the cruise and resort company. Kelly has to work without showing that she's working because she's there incognito, supposed to be a tourist. Also boarding are Parker, played by Christopher, his sister Emily, and his boss Adam. Adam owns the cruise company, and Parker is with him to help him close the sale. Parker has to work on the final proposition and like spreadsheets and stuff like that. Kelly and Parker first meet when Parker is inspecting the life rafts because he is kind of anxious about being on the boat. But when they really get to talking is at the singles table for dinner. Kelly convinces Parker and his sister to go with her on the excursion the next day. At first, Parker refuses because he has to work, but his sister convinces him. The day goes great. They have a great time, and at the time of going to see a waterfall, Emily decides to go back to the boat, leaving Kelly and Parker by themselves. To get to the fall faster, because they need to get back to the boat because it waits for no one, Kelly had booked horses, but she booked too late, so the only thing they get are donkeys. They make it there and have a great time until they realize that Parker did not attach the donkeys properly and they left, so they have to run back to the car, which has trouble starting. When they finally make it to the boat, it is too late. It has left, so they have to make their way to the airport, the next port. Plane is not an option. There are no more rental cars available. They have a whole debacle with someone. It's not available. It's available, but by the time Kelly gets her driver's license, it's not available anymore. Whole debacle. So they take the night train, but not too long after they are on their way, it stops because the workers are on strike. They get off the train, but Kelly convinces the worker to get back to work. In her speech, she reveals how they need to get back to the boat because they will make this merger acquisition possible and it will be great for tourism. At first, the workers are like, we don't want more tourists, but then she is able to sway them just for the night so that they can get back to the train and get back on the road. But in her speech, she has to tell them what she is doing, who she's working for, which surprises Parker, but he's not really mad at her. He's just going to tell her like, our company's great. They get back on the train and they have a sweet moment where Parker tells Kelly she can rest her head on his shoulder. When they finally make it to Syracuse, there is a huge storm, so the boat has been rerouted. They would have been on time for the boat, but the boat's not there. Drenched by the rain, Parker takes them to a hotel that the company owns, where they're able to relax, especially Parker, who threw his back running back from the fall and then running to the train and then being uncomfortable on the train. They have a nice dinner together, and Parker opens up about being divorced because he spent a lot of time working. He gets a call from Adam, and when Adam learns that Kelly could potentially write bad things about the boat, he tells Parker that his mission now is not to work on the spreadsheets. It is to take as much time to get back to the boat because if Kelly is not on the boat, she cannot write bad things about the boat. Meanwhile, on the boat, Adam and Emily have been getting closer. Kelly tells Parker that she booked them on a flight to get them to the boat the next morning at 9, but they oversleep. They get ready really quick, get a cab, but Parker realizes that he forgot his passport in the room. So he sends Kelly on her way by herself. But later in the day, Kelly gets back to Parker, telling him that they got into this mess together, so they will get out of it together. Plus, if her work fires her for an honest mistake, she was not meant to be there in the first place. They kiss, and then Kelly tells Parker that she has a plan. They had met a lady on the train who translated Kelly's speech to the worker. That lady has a cousin with a fishing boat who can get them closer to the boat. Then another cousin will drive them to the boat. They get on the boat, get on the other side of Italy, around like from the bottom. Parker and Kelly get to their rooms. No, sorry, I read too fast. Get on the other side of Italy, but no driver. Instead, the driver left them a moped, I think. I'm not good with cars and stuff like that. They get on their way and make it to the boat. Parker and Kelly get to their rooms and tell each other they will see each other later. Kelly had not been able to do her work, so and her phone had been dead. So when she finally get power, some battery in her phone, she gets a phone call telling her that she is fired. Someone is already boarded the boat and doing her work. She also learns what Adam had asked Parker to do because Parker told it to his sister, who said that it was not right and told Adam to do better. So Adam apologized to Kelly. So Kelly is mad at Parker because she thinks he stalled her and the back issues and him forgetting his passport was all fake, so that she wouldn't be back on the boat. And now she thinks he's the reason because she was fired. Parker tells her that it was not true. It's not true. It was really honest mistakes and really through his back, but she does not care. But later, she reminisces about their good time and forgives him. At the meeting for the sale, everyone does a good job. Kelly's there, Emily's there, um, and they're kind of like there for support. And Kelly, sorry, who's played by Emily, makes a speech. And right as they're about to sign, Adam pulls from the deal, saying that he will accept investments, but wants him and Parker to stay in control. It is because Emily told Parker, like, don't overuse or my brother's like kindness. He's been working a lot. He's a nice guy. So apparently the deal doesn't go through and they get money instead for investment. We learned that Kelly has been hired as a consultant for consumer experience, and Adam hires Emily, who has been looking for a job in PR for partner for business relations. And they have a sweet moment where like they rub hands and you can see that there's something between us. Kelly and Parker tell each other that they have more than a crush on each other and they kiss. And that was Missing the Boat. As usual, we're going to start with what worked for me. And the first thing that really worked for me was the pairing. I wasn't sure at first. I was like, oh, I don't know. And I've never seen their Christmas movie, Hearts of Christmas. So I didn't know, but the pairing worked really well. They really bounced off of each other really well. I'm going to talk a little bit comedy after, but the way they were playing the roles and interacting with each other worked really well. They're two very good actors. I mean, Parker, he played Parker. Christopher is a Hallmark staple, and I mean, Kelly, Emily plays Kelly, has been in a lot of Hallmark projects. I mean, Chesapeake Shores, and she has done a lot of movies, so they're really two reliable Hallmark personalities now. And again, that's not a pairing I would have ever thought of, but it's a pairing that worked really well. Really enjoyed them working together. The comedy that I said, Emily, I mean, I've seen her in many movies, and even her character in Chesapeake Shores had oh kind of sass. And so I've always been aware of her comedy and all that. And of course, she played it again in this movie perfectly. She had a lot of not not necessarily puns, but she interacted with the way she interacted with Parker and things that she said, and like when they were rushing and all that, she played it really well. And I didn't know really the comedy side of Christopher, but he really leaned into it with the guy who threw his bag, and when he realized this that they overslept. He really leaned into comedy and it worked really well and he was really good at it. Again, that's not something a side of him that I knew. I was gonna say really knew, but I don't think I knew that side and it worked really well. And Emily's is great at comedy, so together they were a really great comedic duo, and it worked really well. That's one of the things that stood out for me from this movie is it's not haha, huge haha moments, but subtle little things. And I kind of said the same thing with other movies already. It's not the biggest haha moments, but it's subtle little things that will make you, yeah, that's funny, and things that you want to remember and that make you say, I'm having a great time. So the comedy worked really well. The characters were great. I was really rooting for them. At first, I was not gonna say I got scared, but I thought Kelly would be um, a little bit like other characters that Emily has played. I'm thinking of the movie, and it's one of my favorite. And right now I'm blanking on the name. A movie that she played in 2022 or 2021. Remember, it is Don't Forget I Love You. And one of my favorite Hallmark movie, and I was blanking on the name. At first I thought she was that character, a little stressed, a little some OCD, and it actually wasn't that at all. She was totally like free and almost she cared about work, but not really at the same time. At least it didn't feel like she was, oh, the I think a lot I care she cared a lot about work, but she didn't make it her whole personality. And she didn't feel actually like the stressed character, which I thought at first she would be, but she was not. And even now I'm thinking something that they kind of abandoned a little bit. Parker, when he gets on the boat, he kind of seems like anxious of being on the boat. He's like, I'm going to check the life rafts. And then that kind of anxiousness, well, I mean, they're not on the boat anymore, but kind of disappears. They lean into it at the beginning and then we didn't see it. But you know what? I didn't care. I thought the characters were great. I rooted for them, both of them. They were really easy to root for, funny, nice, interesting characters. And finally, the story. I did not get bored at all. Not saying I get bored with other Hallmark movies, but I was into the story from the beginning to the end, which again is surprising because I'm not into international movies at all, mostly, unless it's a fake European monarchy. I feel like I'm saying this every week. And it was a movie that took place mostly in Italy, and they had a movie in 2023, and I just Googled the name because I didn't have it in mind and I didn't write it down. A very Venice romance, which was one of the worst of 2023 for me and one of the worst Hallmark ones, I think. I couldn't stand the story at all. And this one, like Italy, and I really loved it. Not saying anything against Italy, but I mean, right now, it's a movie about Italy that I liked. So I, again, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I really liked it. And again, it's weird for an international movie, but I didn't feel the international part, if that makes sense. Wasn't like, oh, they're in Italy and all that. I was into the story. The story was the movie. Italy was not the movie. The story was the movie. And I think that it's been like that. Well, I was gonna say it's been like that, but not really, because of Melbourne match is about Melbourne and Australia, and I didn't mind it. But for this one, it's really the story. Italy was kind of the backdrop of it. Could have taken place anywhere. So right now let's move into what I did not like. And there's nothing that I really did not like. It was more inconsistencies and things that did not really make sense that I think could go more into things to point out. So let's move to things to point out. And the first thing to point out that I didn't write actually is, and again, I'm not advocating for anything. I don't have a point of view on this. I'm just some things that I say, oh, it would be some things to point out. Interesting thing is at the beginning of the movie, Emily tells Parker, okay, like you need to embrace being on a cruise ship. So many people are on cruises every year. So many more people like embrace, and we need to like almost like kind of expand and move to that kind of vacation. And like that's so funny you say that in Italy, because in Venice, and the movie doesn't take place in Venice, but it takes place in Italy. I think I heard that there are kind of issues with cruise ships because it create the waves and like kind of put Venice in danger, and it's so many people, and like it's kind of funny. And again, I don't have an opinion, but it's we're like advocating for cruise ships in the countries are like, well, for Venice, we don't want them anymore. At least that's what I heard, and that's what I understood out of it. Could be wrong, but that's what I took away from what I've heard. So yeah, that was the first thing. Another thing that to point out, and I'll first there are other things, but I'll go with the inconsistencies and things that didn't really make sense because of what I said for the what I did not like. Um, when Kelly is able to convince the workers to stop the strike, and like, first of all, how, and we're not here to see things that could happen in real life, but that's really something that I don't think could happen in real life. And then, is it just that those workers that are on strike just for that train? Because I'm like, how you convince just these people, and then the strike stops? Was it just these people? So one of the things, the questions I had. Another thing, when they realized that they overslept, um, I think it is Kelly who says the airport is an hour away at first, when she's on the phone with Parker telling him to get ready really fast. And then they're running, or Parker says that. And then, yeah, Parker says that. And then when they're running for the cab, Kelly says the airport is 30 minutes away. I'm like, which one is it? Another thing, when Parker has sent Kelly on her way, and he's on the phone with Adam, and he says, I left my passport on the Gideon's Bible. It's been a while since I've been in an Italian hotel, but I do not think that they have Bibles, and I would think it would be a Catholic one if they did. But I think that Bibles in hotel rooms are mostly a North American thing. Could be wrong, but I thought about that. Then when Kelly gets back to Parker and tells him, if they fire me for an honest mistake, then it was that I'm not meant to be there. Missing the boat the first time is an honest mistake. Deciding not to get on the plane when you have the opportunity to get back on the boat, it's not an honest mistake. It's a decision that you make, which she admits at the end. She's like, well, I decided not to get back on the plane. But at first it was like, this is not an honest mistake anymore. This is your choice, a decision that you made when you had the opportunity to get back on to the boat. So yeah. Then I don't know if that's valid anymore. But when Parker's on the phone with Adam, he tells him, we've been rerouted with the storm. We've been rerouted to an isle in Greece. And then when Parker and Kelly have to get back to the boat is in Italy again. And I'm like, that didn't really make sense. Then I checked, the boat was going below Italy, and then it was on, when you look at Italy, it was on the east side. And I was like, and then actually the isle is just on the other across. So like, I guess they could have been there to avoid the storm and then get back to Italy. But at first I was like, what do I mean? And finally, when they take the fishing boat, and the fishing boat has to go all the way below Italy, I think from Sicily, or I think from Sicily, could be wrong, or maybe like from right across Sicily. I'm Could be wrong. I don't know anything about that, but like, I have real questions about and doubts about that small boat being able to make that trip. But I could be wrong. I don't know anything about it. So that was the inconsistencies, things I had questions about. Other things to point out, Kelly's, when they realize that after they get back, because the donkeys left and they had to run back to the car, and they're like, Parker's like, we're gonna miss the boat. And Kelly's like, well, we'll just tell him the driver to go fast. Italians driver are really fast. And yeah, they are, and they are not the best. And they have a weird way of driving. Let's say a highway has two lanes. Well, I'll drive in the middle of the two. Just saying that. Oh, I have a lot of Italian blood in me, and I've been in Italy a lot of times. So I just thought that's funny. It's like, yeah, Italians drive really fast. I've been on a bus in Rome. Better hold on to whatever you can hold on to. Then when they realize that the workers are on strike on the train, and the passenger that Kelly befriends tells her, "Oh, we're used to it here. It happens all the time. We're used to it here." So I didn't know Italy was France, actually. And again, I'm French. I didn't know Italian had the same train company as France, or it was just France in general. um, and and finally, when she gets back to him and saying, we got in this mess together, like, that's such a dumb. You had the opportunity to get back to that boat. I know you like the guy, but yeah, the opportunity to get back to the boat, that's kind of dumb to say we got into this together. I don't know. And one question I have is, how many times just this year in overall, but even just this year, Did we get the I overworked, we got divorced because I was working too much? And also, I think it's the at least the second time we've had divorce this year. And I'm like, not saying we've reached the point of like for the actors where it's not their first marriage anymore. They've been married and now they're getting into the second wedding, which again, this is nothing against it, but it's funny that it's moved to usually fighting their first love and husband. And now that they've found that already and they need a new one, we've been together doing this for 15 years. So I just thought that was funny to point out. But anyway, final thoughts. It was a really great movie that I really enjoyed. Again, I had a really nice time from beginning to end. I was into it. I gave it 4 stars and ranked it the second movie, Winter Escape 2026, and so far the second movie of the year for me, a Hallmark in my ranking. And overall, Winter Escape has been an excellent surprise. Like again, I've said multiple times, and I've said it in this episode already. I'm not a big fan of Winter Escape and like what's the name of the June thing that they do? Passport to Love, because I'm not a fan of international movies usually, unless it's a fake European monarchy. I should have counted how many I've said that this year already. But it was an excellent surprise. Three out of the 5 movies I really enjoyed and had a great time. And I would say at least 2 of them I would rewatch, just saying, yeah, let's rewatch it. So I had a really great time. Was really surprised it was not the case last year. So yeah, it wasn't again when they said we're going back to Winter Kid, I was like, and then it actually kind of verifies the overall feeling I had getting into it though after they announced the movies. When I read the 5 movies, I was like, okay, they are interesting, even though that's not my thing. They seem like interesting movies, and I verified my first instinct. Two of them, one of them I really didn't like. The other one was, but three of them were really good and a really great surprise for 2026. I'll post my final ranking on Instagram in the coming days before the first Love Yuri movie. And yeah, let's get in. Let's start Love Yuri. I'm excited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me in the comments what you liked about the movie, what you didn't like, what your overall feeling about the movie. Follow the Instagram at the Homework Guy Podcast, where I post, again, I'll post my ranking, I post clips from the podcast and just special Instagram post. I made a video about the new Nelly Knows Best Mysteries date. I did When Calls the Heart. We started watching When Calls the Heart, so look out for videos out for that, because I'll probably just be on Instagram. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!